Well, because we're in harm's way a lot. We're back behind the linebackers, so
I've seen you get hit by a ball.
I have been hit by a ball one time.
Alrighty, folks. Welcome to Careers Over Beers podcast. I'm the host, Jesse Krause, like every single other episode. And today I have a special guest on that I've known for a while now because he was my high school teacher, Robbie.
Robert.
Introduce yourself, Robert.
Hello, I'm Robert Richeson. I'm a teacher at Andale High School, and I also officiate college football. Yeah,
and that's badass. So we're going to talk all about that. But first, we're going to slam some drinks. What are we drinking on? This is your favorite drink here.
A vodka Sprite Zero. That's my style.
I bought some Boot Hill Distillery vodka. Have you ever had that?
No, I have not.
It's made in Dodge City, Kansas.
Okay.
I didn't know what kind of vodka you wanted for this. I don't know if you have a specific kind you like, but it's like, why not? We'll get the local shit.
I'm anxious to try that.
So shout out to Boot Hill Distillery. Got some ice here.
I got some friends from Dodge City, so
they'll
appreciate that.
Hell yeah. Shout out to Boot Hill. I think they make whiskey and shit too.
Probably so.
Uh-oh.
5-second rule.
Yeah. So
I did not realize that whatever I drink, you drink. So that's going to be
I drink whatever the guest drinks every single episode.
I did not know that.
So I want you to show me how you do these.
Okay, here we go.
Mix me up.
Well, I've never poured a glass this small, so hang with me.
You just have really big hands.
It's going to be a lot on vodka.
Woo!
And then
We got 3 fingers of vodka there.
Yep, and a little bit on soda.
And a little bit of soda.
Sprite Zero.
Is Sprite Zero just because it's healthy or what?
Yep. Well,
trying to stay fit.
You won't be full, yeah. Trying to stay fit.
Oh, you won't be full?
You won't be
Mix
full.
that up a little bit?
I'm not going to. I'm going to let you.
What if I want you to?
Nope. No. You don't want my finger in there.
All right, let's give it a shot. This is the Robbie Richeson drink.
There you go.
Do people call you Robbie?
When I was a little kid.
Bob?
Yeah, Bob. When I was a little kid, a little bit of Robbie. Once I got to junior high, it was more Robert.
Robert?
Yeah.
All right, Robert.
Bob's kind of a nickname. But
I know you as Mr. Richeson, though.
There you
go. Cheers, sir.
Healthy drink.
Oh, yeah. I can feel the weight coming right off.
There you go.
Should we slam them?
Sure.
What do you think?
Cheers.
Cheers. Ooh.
That'll make the questions easier.
That sure will. I know when I have a vodka drinker on, they're not going to hold back. Some people are hesitant to drink heavy on here.
Yeah.
But you're a grown man.
Yep.
You can handle your liquor.
I might need that.
All right, Mr. Rich.
Yes, sir.
You're a high school teacher and an NCAA football official.
That is correct.
Tell me which one you want to start off on first and how you got into it.
Probably my real job, which is a high school teacher.
Okay.
Which is how I know you.
That's how you know me.
Correct.
And look at what I've done, man. You've taught me how to...
I'm impressed.
I was in your video production class.
Yes.
So I've experienced...
Still one of my favorite music videos of all times.
Is it really?
It is.
Amish Paradise?
It was excellent.
Dude, Thank you. I appreciate that.
You almost got me in trouble, but...
Because we skipped school that day?
Yeah. You had your parents all call you in to go shoot a music video.
We had to, man. Look at the end result.
You're right. That's how I got myself out of trouble.
Yes. So if we would have just totally goofed off and made a shitty-ass video, it would have really made you more in trouble, right?
I wouldn't have gotten in trouble for that because you didn't call out of school.
No, but if we would have called out of school and made a terrible video, like we were jacking around the whole time.
True. I had to show it. And I said, look, these guys took the initiative, and this thing is really good. They planned this thing out to the T. This video is really good.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well,
you're right.
We had to go to Cowtown to film that because
and it's
shooting that around the school, trying to look like an Amish guy, it's just...
And it was only open till 3.
Yeah, it was only open till 3. So we said.
Boot Hill, good.
That's good stuff, right?
Good stuff, yeah.
It's a good smooth vodka. Shout out to Boot Hill Distillery. Once again, Dodge City, Kansas, folks. So yeah, you teach video production.
Yep.
What else do you all teach now? You do some other things.
It's changed a lot. Now I'm teaching intro to engineering, teaching computer-aided manufacturing and carpentry and computer-aided drawing.
Carpentry.
We're building a shed right now.
You're kidding me.
No, we've added it.
I never pictured you teaching carpentry.
You
were the technology guy when I was there.
Right. Well, when I interviewed at Andale clear back when I started here, the position was for technology, and back then I was big into CAD systems and computer-aided design.
Right.
And at that point, we only had one shop teacher, and he was full-time Woods, and that's all we had.
Mm-hmm.
And now he is retired and gone, and now we have a metals in shop, and there's a need for another shop teacher, and I'm certified to teach all of it.
Are you really?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, when I was in college, I took all kinds of woodworking and all those kind of classes, so certified to teach that.
That's cool.
And what we're trying to do is we're trying to cater toward what our kids are doing post-high school. Not every kid's going to college.
Yes.
And the price of college these days is crazy.
Yes.
And we have a lot of kids that are going into trades and are going into things, so we're trying to give them some skills early enough on that they can make a decision as to what they want to do.
That's badass because, part of this podcast is talking to people that are in those careers and people that didn't pursue college right after high school. And they always tell me their story about how they found, oh, look at this nice trade job that I found that I had no idea I could make a good living out of, no idea that I could build a skill set for beforehand. So that's super important shit what you're doing.
Yeah, well, you're exactly right. And the thing is most of those kids are making more than we make as teachers in 20 plus years of experience. That's
got to make you proud though, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, that's part of education. Part of the reason you like being a teacher is seeing a kid finally get it. They finally, by the time they get to be seniors, sometimes not, but by the time they graduate, a lot of them you come back and you see them around and you're like,
something clicked.
Yeah.
Something changed there.
And he finally figured it out. So good for him.
They didn't have any of that stuff when I was there, and it wasn't that long ago.
It was woodworking back then, cabinet. It was woodworking.
It was woods, metals.
It was welding 1, welding 2, woods 1 and woods 2. That's how it was back then.
Yeah.
Back then it was more cabinet making.
Mm-hmm.
And we felt a need to make a change because of where we live and demands of the kids that graduate from there. If you look at the history, look at all the builders that we have that have graduated from there,
right?
Or they're in that. They may not be builders yet, but they're going through the process of learning and everything else that they're going to eventually do that. So it's an important change.
Cool stuff, man. Were you a part of that?
A little bit.
Yeah.
I had input into it, and I asked my opinion. But really, administration. Steve Stanhope has been a big part of that, and Michelle Shackelford.
That's really cool.
So they're doing an excellent job.
So you're a teacher by day, and you're an official on the weekends. What made you get into teaching, first of all?
Well, when I graduated high school, I wasn't sure what I was going to do. And I knew in high school I was big into drafting.
Really?
It was board drafting back then. I'm that old. And believe it or not, back then there was no CAD system when I was in high school. We didn't have a computer when I was in high school that I remember. We had typewriters.
How old are you?
Yeah, I'm 49 years old
now.
You? Yeah,
God dang.
I am. And so I went to college, and I was going to go to Garden City Community College and get an associate degree in drafting. And because that's what I wanted to do. I just wanted to go get an associate degree and start working. And I went down there, and the instructor was phenomenal. And he introduced me to the CAD system. And it was clear before Windows, clear before anything. It was DOS-based, and it was all, keyboard commands and those kinds of things. And it's something that the way my brain works, it hit me, and I got it. I got it right away.
It was one of those, you're talking about just a black screen with green text on it.
Correct.
And you're just typing out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you had to visualize everything. So if you were doing, I remember doing a 3D model of a kitchen. So I had to think of how long my wall was and what the offset was for a cabinet, then the cabinet door, then the knob. And you had to think of in terms of size and distance and everything else, so you could get the X, Y, and the Z correct for that position of that piece.
And you couldn't see anything you were doing?
No, can't see it until you print it.
That's insane, man.
Yeah.
We've come a long way since then.
It changed a lot quick. That's for sure.
Look at the graphic interfaces that we have now. There's nothing to it. You just click on something and drag it here, and all the math is done for you behind the scenes.
Correct.
Yeah. That's crazy shit. How far we've come in that short amount of time. Even being a teacher, teaching technology, right? You've seen some crazy changes probably in that short amount of time.
Yeah, I've had to adapt a lot. When I was learning back then, it was just AutoCAD. I think it was AutoCAD Release 8. It was like the 8th version that they'd released. Now we're on AutoCAD 2021, 2022. So, and every year, I think about 2013 is when it started going by year. So that was back in 1990. It was my first version of AutoCAD that I used.
This is before me.
Well, yeah, for a lot of people. So,
yeah, it's crazy to think. I mean, even when I was in high school, which I graduated in 2013, we were using tapes in your class still.
Yep.
All the video cameras, we had tapes. We would check out the little tape you had for us. Remember that?
Correct. Yep.
And it's funny to think about that now because I told my brother, who's currently in high school, like, yeah, we used tapes. We would check the tape out, go record with it, come back, and at the end of class, And he's like, what?
Exactly.
There's no way. Yeah. He's like, that's way back, right? I'm like, no.
Yeah.
We were using tapes, man.
Yeah, when I started there, we used VHS. Our first highlight tape that we made for football, and Mr. Stanhope was on it. He was a junior. It was VHS.
Was he really?
VHS to VHS.
Wow.
Believe it or not. Yeah, VHS.
For everybody out there, those are those big black things.
Yeah.
You can probably find in your parents' cabinet.
You wouldn't find anything that could play it.
No.
You'd have to take it to a shop to get it made to a DVD.
Yeah.
And most people don't have a DVD anymore.
Nope. It's all going to little chips and cards.
Correct.
And even those little chips now, those things are going up to like 500 gigs.
Yep.
Crazy stuff. So, you got into that shit. You're still teaching now.
Still teaching. Yep.
How did you end up getting into officiating? Let's go down that rabbit hole.
Well, I started out coaching football and basketball at Andale. I coached football for 8 years, basketball for 14. And once my daughter became a kindergartner, I had to give up basketball because I couldn't. I was divorced at the time, and with parenting things, I had to bring her to kindergarten because she came to Andale. That was one of the things I insisted is that my kids went to Andale High School because I know how good of a school it is. So I couldn't get a kindergartner up at 5 a.m. and bring her to school every day and expect her to be functional all day long. So I had to give it up. Football, there's always changes in coaches and things of that nature. And the head coach at that point was he was let go, and I decided, I wasn't going to coach football anymore, and I sit out for 1 year, and man, I missed it. I missed it a lot.
You missed being a part of it.
I missed being a part of football and Friday nights and all those things. And the first year that I sit out, I went to all the games. I went and watched all the games, and man, I missed it a lot. And oddly enough, I don't know if you probably weren't there, but we had an AD, Jerry Stuckert at the time, and Kansas State High School Activities Association would put flyers out, officials needed. And they put one in my mailbox, and I looked at it, and I thought, man, that'd be a great way to get back into into football.
Yeah.
And so I was at Old Chicago, believe that, West Side Old Chicago one night, and I saw the guy who officiated all the JV games out at Andale. And his name is Craig Helser, and he said, need to get you signed up. Give me your phone number. He said, they're going to love you. He said, you'll be in the Big 12 in no time.
He told you that?
He told me that day, and I'd never officiated a down in my life.
And you never considered it either before then?
Never even considered it.
Why? What made you even consider that over going back to coaching?
Because coaching doesn't pay enough, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
The pay is not good for the hours and the work. I mean, when you figure it out by hour,
you're there all the whole time.
Minimum wage.
The whole time the players are practicing and everything, you got to be there.
In Andale, you win, and the more you win, the longer the season, the less you're getting
Andale
paid.
doesn't not win, man.
Exactly.
It's insanity out there.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you wanted to be a part of it, but coaching wasn't something that you were too interested in because of the pay and everything. So you're like, oh, I'll go be an officiate.
Yeah, because basically I could make more than a coach and work not even a quarter of the time.
Yeah, you just work for the game, basically,
just
right?
Just the games. Well, I mean, it's not that easy. You got to prepare. You got to work a little bit.
Okay, yeah. Let's tell me the story.
We'll get into that. But, yeah. So yeah.
So you got a job with this guy being a high school official?
Well, he actually helped me. I went to an area supervisor meeting, which is coaches, officials, and that's a mandatory meeting that you had to go to be able to officiate. So I went to the meeting, and next thing you know, they get to the end of the meeting, guys are standing up and they're just screaming out dates and names and times, and I'm like, I've never done this before. I'm not signing up for any of this, because I didn't even know how to put the uniform on, to be honest with you. It's crazy because we wore knickers back then.
What are the? Oh yeah,
the white pants,
all white ones.
Yeah, the baseball knicker pants.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, I've been.
So there was a whole uniform to it, and you're like, what the hell is all this?
Exactly. Yeah, what's this? So, I just went to him and I said, well, what do you have? And he gave me. Back then, I worked the Carroll parochial games. It was on Saturday, I think, Saturday mornings. Yeah, Saturday mornings, and it was like they'd have 3 games back to back, and then after I worked 2 or 3 of those, he had an independent JV. No, it might have been junior high. It might have been freshman game or something. He had 1 game and he had me come over there, and because it was a little faster, little kids were slow. Mm-hmm. It was easy to adjust to, and he came out to every one of them and watched me and made notes and told me what I needed to do to change. And then I went through that year. I only worked like maybe 6 games, and he called me. I was on my way from Andale teaching, and I still remember the phone call because I had a Motorola StarTAC. If you remember,
I don't know what the hell that is.
See?
It's probably some big chunky old thing though, right?
It was like a little flip phone. It's the best phone ever.
I remember the Motorola Razors.
It was a flip phone, flipped in half. It was
half.
Yeah, it was really good.
That's what they all did back then, right?
Yeah, maybe
they all flipped in half.
No, it was actually my favorite phone until the iPhone. You know that.
Oh yeah.
So
I'm not going to get into your Apple addiction.
So he called me and he said, "Hey, we want to hire you on our varsity crew."
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, "Varsity crew? I'm not ready for that." And he goes, "Oh, we'll get you ready."
Did you know before that you were good at it? Like when you were doing those first, you only did 6 games, you said?
No, I was never confident. I was never comfortable.
You didn't feel comfortable out there?
I mean, I knew the game and I knew the way it was played, but the first time you got to throw your flag,
you better.
It's a nerve-wracking thing.
It's got to be a freaky thing.
It's just because you're basically you're injecting yourself into the game.
Right.
It's not something you want to do, but when there's something that's clear and obvious, you have to call it.
And then all the attention's on you.
All the attention
because you're the one that threw the flag, and everyone's like, "What the hell happened?"
Exactly.
So you better have your shit together and be right.
So then I met with over the course of the summer, I met with him, Mark Schroff, and us 3. We met kind of like this. We'd have drinks. We'd talk. We drew stuff on napkins. They told me, "What you got to do this. 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 You got to do this." So my second varsity game is Derby Hutch.
Big.
And I have no clue what I'm getting myself into.
Is that 5A?
They were at the time. They were 5A, and they were both, at the top of their game.
At the top of the game,
really
yeah.
good.
That's a huge game in the state of Kansas.
Correct. It was a huge game, and I'm like, "You guys, the schedule. I'm not." And he said, "We'll get you ready." So I worked the first half, and Bob Benoit was the supervisor of the ABCTL. He still is. And he come in at halftime, and he's like, "You look a little tense. You look a little nervous." And I'm thinking, well, maybe because I am a little bit, I mean, this is a big game. And I had a good game. We worked through the course of the year. And when they, I was an open book because I didn't know much. When they told me to change something, I changed it. And I listened, I adjusted.
What do you mean change something? When you were doing something wrong?
If you did something mechanically. So in football, it's mechanics and position. That's the number one thing. And then judgment is a call on something that you make. Your mechanics put you in position to make the correct call. And if it was something mechanically wrong that I did, then I made sure I fixed that and adjusted it. And as far as your judgment, if you see something, you think it's a hold and you throw on it, and then you go back and film and it's not big enough or it's not a hold, now you got to go back and look at your judgment. So that's really the big thing with officiating. So I adjusted to everything they told me, and we had things we went on, but at the end of the day, we worked a state championship that first year, and it had never been done by a first-year official.
Really?
Never.
So you felt pretty good after that? Did you gain a lot of
I
confidence?
honestly didn't really know what I was doing.
No?
I mean, in terms of I knew how to officiate and I knew what to do, but I didn't really know how big of a thing that was until I got to the state game. And some guys were there, all Big 12 officials, and they saw me that first day. And Craig and I were walking back to the locker room after the game, and he said, "Your life's about to change." And I was just like, I don't know what that means, And I was like, okay. Went in the locker room, and they were asking me, "Where are you from? What do you do? Are you free tomorrow?"
You're kidding me.
No.
So it happened that quick.
Yes.
When this was going on, you had to have been like, what's going on?
Yeah, kind of.
You don't know what you're doing. They throw you into this big game, and all of a
Yes.
sudden you have Big 12 guys coming to talk to you?
Yep.
Do they have scouts like a normal college football coach that go to games and just watch the officials?
Yes.
Really?
They do.
That's crazy.
Yeah, they have to. I mean,
It makes sense, though, but I've never
you
really
have to
thought
look-
about it.
Yeah, because you got to realize people can't officiate forever.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to eventually have to replace them. Whether it be age, injury, or performance, you're going to have to replace people at some point.
You start getting pretty old,
so
or
you
they
gotta
like,
start
all
looking.
right.
Yeah.
Your eyes and your mind don't work like they used to. Maybe it's time to...
And sometimes it's self-awareness, sometimes it's not.
Right. Like every other job, I guess.
Yep. True.
All right, so these guys meet with you in the locker room. What all happened?
I mean, I just sit and listened, and they were like, "Where are you from? What do you do?" And I said, "I teach at Andale." I said, "I'm a high school teacher, previous coach." And, "Well, what are you doing tomorrow?" And there was a bowl game down in Coffeyville, Dalton Defender Bowl. They said, "Well, you need to come down there tomorrow." I said, "Okay, I'll be there." So I went down, we sit in the press box, and they just asked me 1,000 questions. And one of the guys who was there was David Oliver. He's in the NFL now. And the other was Phil Laurie. He's the supervisor of the MIAA.
So it was basically a job interview doing all this?
Basically.
Them asking you these questions?
Yep. And they said, "We got to get you into college football right away."
Is there an official job application to do this, or does it all happen like your story? Are you just kind of, you work your way up and people come and approach you and say, "Hey, we're interested in you"? You can't just go out and say, "I'm going to apply and I want to be a NCAA football."
It used to work
official.
Sort of that way. Not really, but now there's camps and clinics that you attend, and then they can see you work in front of them, and then by the way that you work, it shows their
They
interest
pick you
in
out.
you. Correct. Yeah, they pick you out, and I went through that to get into the Big 12.
So that's like a training that they put you through?
It's a 4-day clinic camp. You pay a fee.
So it's almost like a tryout?
Yeah.
Where you go
It
out
is.
there and you perform, and then they kind of just pick out the best guys?
Correct. Yeah.
Really?
That's really what it's like. Yeah.
Huh. So anybody, if I decided tomorrow that I wanted to be an official in the Big 12, I could go to one of these tryouts?
Well, it's
Or do you have to be handpicked?
Yes, you could, but you'd probably be wasting your money.
I know that, Rich. I suck at almost everything I do.
I don't mean you suck. I don't mean you suck. I'm just saying there's a lot to it. It's
Yeah.
amazing what you have to learn, what you have to understand before you go to one of those. And that's why here's the thing in officiating is everybody thinks they're better than they are. So that's the number one thing. That's
Including
the number
yourself?
one thing. Nope. I've been grounded my whole time. I can't believe some of the things I've been able to do.
But every one of your coworkers, so to speak, thinks that they're better than they are?
I think that happens. That's more times than not. Yes,
It's common?
I do.
Yeah.
I think there's everybody. It's self-awareness.
What do you all... Okay, so you said you have to know a lot of stuff before you go to one of those tryout, whatever camp it is, summer camp. Are you studying something that's in like a book? Are you watching a lot of film?
The rule book. Rule book is the number one thing. If you're going to be an official, you got to understand the rules. The rules are the key and number
That
one
makes sense.
backbone of everything, because you can't be a confident official if you don't know the rules.
So you got to know the rules by heart.
Yes.
You can't be...
Second nature.
It has to be second nature to you?
Yes. And I mean, I can tell you my first year of college, my referee, which is Monty Appleby, he retired several years ago, but he just said, you need to know these areas. Because when I hired when they hired me in college after my first year of high school, hired me as a deep official. So I was a field judge. So I'm back there covering receivers and kicks, and that somebody my physical size, that's not the typical position they would work.
Yeah.
But that was all that was available. And they wanted to get me into college as soon as they could. So I worked it, and, I got used to it. And by the end of the year, I was pretty good at it. But it just wasn't my natural position. So when I started high school, I worked on the line of scrimmage, and I got pretty good at it. And then I moved from field judge to line of scrimmage the next year because they went from 6-man to 7-man.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was comfortable because I knew high school, but I didn't really know the college rules yet. And then that's when everything changed. That's when the rules tests started coming out, and then taking tests at clinics and camps and everything started coming out. And you were accountable to be able to know the rules in detail. And that's really, my first year on the line of scrimmage, there was a play, and a coach asked me, he said, well, the quarterback was beyond the neutral zone, and then he went back behind it and he threw it. Isn't that a foul?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have any idea.
You had no clue?
I had no clue.
Where did you study all this at? Where did you learn?
Well, see, for me, I'm not the guy that can read the book and tell you everything that's in the book. I have to understand why.
Is there a giant book of all the rules?
There is. It's not a giant book, but yeah, there's
book. There's like a Bible of
There is a
being
college rule book that comes out every year.
Yeah. And things change, obviously.
I can't just read it cover to cover and tell you everything that's in it. I have to
not the Rain Man.
And yeah, I have to, like, in terms of in college, I still remember this to this day. It was chunking small bits of information to be able to put that into my brain to make it work. So when I see rules tests and they could put things in one question in an actual game scenario, how do you apply the rules in this situation and why? That's when I started really getting good at the rules. And now I've completely excelled, and I'm kind of one of those guys who's known as a rules guy.
You're like the Book of Eli dude in college football.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, you could just recite it all.
I know quite a bit of it.
In between that time when those Big 12 guys talked to you, when you first knew shit's getting real, and you go to that camp or whatever, were you studying all the rules in between that time period,
Yes.
or was it right away? How soon after was that?
So I worked 1 year of JUCO as a field judge, and then the next year I worked as a line judge. So 2 years of college, didn't know the rules at all, and then I got hired in the MIAA, and I worked as a head linesman. Well, that's when we found out, or that's when we started being held accountable for the rules and the rules knowledge. You had to take a rules test every year, and we started studying, and we had small groups that we studied.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember being at Craig's house, and there was 4 or 5 of us there studying, and I would say, I don't understand that. Why? Like, why? That doesn't make, why? And you say, that's just the way it is. And I'm like, well, that doesn't make sense to me. I need to understand why. Like, why do they make the rule this way?
That's like all those rules that you guys gave us at school.
Well,
we would say, what the hell's that for? That doesn't make any sense.
I get that part too, but at the same time, what I'm saying is, if this is a foul, this is how you're going to enforce it. Why do you enforce it this way? Once I get that, I got it. I won't forget it. I have that in my brain forever.
Once it clicks, you totally
sense.
Understand.
Correct. What's the spirit of the rule?
Yeah.
Why are they making this rule this way? For an example, on illegal kick beyond the neutral zone, where is it enforced? It's enforced from the previous spot. Usually, in all other fouls, they're going to give you what you got till you foul and enforce it from the spot of the foul if you're on offense.
Mm-hmm.
In that rule, it's an illegal kick. You're going from the previous spot. It's a rarity. You're going from the previous spot, 5 yards, loss of down. More than likely, the team on defense is going to get the ball at that spot, first down the other way, because normally it's 4th down when they kick. So there's just some weird rules, but once I got it, I got it. So
that makes sense. My brain kind of works like that too. If you just tell me a list of rules to memorize and just
I can't memorize.
Yeah, memorize the words.
Tell me why.
Because really, you're just memorizing words at that point.
Right.
But if you understand exactly what's going on, then you can recall, like, oh, that's why they do that. Because this is making that happen.
That's exactly how officiating is.
So that stuff clicked. Do all the rules make sense to you?
Yeah.
You don't have to
There's
say.
some There's some that I still wish they would tweak and change.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't say specifically any one of them, but I mean, there's some that, they've done a great job in the last few years of cleaning them up and making them, like there's some times where a foul can go unpunished, and it's like, why would you allow that? Mm-hmm. And they've got those fixed. There's some things like that, but for the most part, I can't think of anything off the top of my head. There's always things. That's the evolution of the game. There brings in a change, constant change all the time.
I know.
There's always
and
new things.
People on our end that are just watching this on Saturday with our friends want to know what the motives are behind everything. And we don't have the Bible of college football.
Sure you
so
do.
we
It's
can't,
free. It's downloadable. You can download it anywhere.
It is, but we're too lazy to do that.
Yeah. Would you really read it and take the time?
Who's going to sit there and read that shit unless
Correct.
you're going to be in your position?
Right. I agree. I don't disagree.
So
but also those same people shouldn't be able to get on all the different social media platforms and complain about something when they don't know what they're talking about.
Word.
Yeah.
Cheers,
Breaking
sir.
Breaking the huddle with more than 11. That's NFL.
So it drives you crazy when you see fans talking mad shit?
I don't look at anything online.
You don't?
No.
That's the way to do it.
No, I don't.
But you do know. Yeah, sorry, that ice is kind of hard to get out of there. But
we'll make it work.
You see people talking shit all the time, I'm sure, or hearing about it at least, and you're like, these people don't know what the hell they're talking about.
Yeah.
Does that drive you crazy?
No, I don't let it.
None of it drives you crazy?
No, I don't let it bother me, because I know they just don't know any better.
Well, that's good for you, Mr. Richeson. Things bother a lot of other people.
I got a question for you.
All right,
Jay Klaus, I got a question on cams.
Is a makeup call, is that a real thing?
Fallacy. Complete fallacy.
Is that true?
Complete fallacy.
Describe makeup call for everybody out there. What is that?
Like when an official misses a call, and then they'll make a makeup call on the other team because they missed a call. I mean, announcers will say it every now and again. Oh, that was a makeup call.
That was a makeup call.
But
well, I will just tell you this: if you're listening to announcers, that's the first mistake. Okay, so moving on from there.
Don't do that.
What? Well, no, I mean, they don't know the rules either.
They're just fanboys like us. It's the same as us sitting there watching the game with our friends.
But
they do it professionally.
A lot of them played the sport, but the rules have completely changed since then, but they don't really know the rules. So as far as a makeup call, they'll say that's a makeup call just because they don't agree with the next call. And, I mean, the one thing that you want as an official is when you work a game, you don't want them talking about you when the game is over. That's the number one goal.
Yeah. Same with the kicker.
True.
You don't want to be the talk of the town after the game's over.
True. Yeah.
For a bad reason.
Yeah. So what I would tell you about things like that, every game that's worked in college football at every level is evaluated and graded. Every single game. And you can't just call something bogus just to make up something. So that's I don't know where that started, but it's not.
Well, it's probably just an excuse that people use. People make up stuff all the time when their team loses or something bad happens at the end of a game. They always want to throw out stuff and say, "Well, that's horse shit, and that shouldn't happen that way." And
people are fanatics.
Yeah.
All they can see is their team, and they don't see anything else.
That being said, though, there have been crazy bad calls in history in football. Do you agree with that?
There's been mistakes, yes.
Of course there's going to be mistakes. There's been some crazy ones, though. What about that Steelers Super Bowl? Do you remember that? Like 1978?
Come on. No, I don't remember that.
You said earlier you were like 69 or something. So I thought maybe you'd remember that.
No. 72, so I was only 6.
No, it was like 78.
No,
but basically what happened...
I'm born in 72. I don't remember 78.
You're the 72 model?
I am the 72 model, yeah.
Basically what happened in that game was they didn't have camera footage like they do now. They had like one dude on a camera.
They didn't have replay then.
No, they didn't have replay either. But you can find the game still on YouTube, and something crazy happens, and he runs it back for a touchdown at the end of the Super Bowl. And everybody that was at the game was like,
I know what you're talking about. But
yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't know.
So mistakes are made. Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Have you ever had any calls where you're like, fuck, I made a mistake there. I shouldn't have called that?
No.
Never?
No.
It's pretty confident, Mr. Richeson.
I mean, I've had 2 incorrects in my career, and they're all dealing with.
What is it incorrect? Is that when somebody goes back and
No, that
says,
means when you throw a flag and it's wrong.
okay. And they overturn it?
No, they can't overturn it.
Have you ever had a call that they've overturned or challenged
No,
and
you can't-
overturned?
you can't- Okay, first, you're talking about a foul that you've called or a judgment.
Well, you tell me. I don't know.
So yeah, exactly. So as far as when you throw your flag for a foul, replay has nothing to do with that. They can't come in there and fix that.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's a judgment thing, as far as the runner being short of line to gain or scoring, or whether it was a catch or no catch, those are judgments. Those things can be reviewed in a short term. It's just a quick version of how that can work. But
no.
I don't deal in, for my position.
Your position is different, yeah.
Yeah, I don't deal in those kinds of things.
Yeah.
So I have not.
Do you think that it does happen where officials will make a call and after they see, or even right after they throw the flag, they're like, oh, shit.
Here's what people don't understand. When you're sitting at home and you're watching your 80-inch TV or 60-inch TV, and they're playing it in super slow-mo from 7 different angles, that guy had one opportunity to get it right live.
Right.
And they're right 96 to 98% of the time.
That's a good point. Yeah. We don't think about that. People that are just sitting behind an 80-inch TV just talking shit, they don't think about things like that. They don't think about this dude is out here giving it his all, and he's right most of the time.
Right.
And how dare he miss one little thing when it's live, one take.
Right.
You see all the replays, you're like, well, what the hell, Rich? Why'd you make that call, Rich? You know?
Sometimes you see it and you're like, oh, I didn't even see that foul, but the ref saw it.
The ref saw it, yeah.
The TV saw it.
You'd be surprised.
That's a good point. So
when you go back and you look statistically at how the performance of the officials, I mean, it's
astounding, really.
People get to an elite level because they're really good at judgment.
I know. And let's talk about that, because not only do you have to, well, it's crazy that people like you get into a position like you, because all these things have to happen first for it to really happen. You have to be talked to. You have to have an interest in it. You have to have an interest in the sport. And then on top of that, you have to have a certain skill set outside of memorizing all the rules. You need to be watching things. How do you guys see that stuff when it happens live?
It breaks down into mechanics and your pre-snap routine and doing the same thing every time. And that's the thing that makes me, successful at my position, because I'm very ritualistic. I do the same thing over and over and over, and I don't even think about it. 9 times out of 10, before play, I've already done everything in 3-4 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know that I've done it. It's already done, and I'm ready for the play. And then the play happens, and I read and adjust and evaluate.
When something happens split second, though, like let's say somebody's foot touching the grass before he's out of bounds. I know that's not your position necessarily, but how do you guys see that?
Again, that goes back to mechanics.
It's crazy.
So to put you in position, number one, and then to tell you, they teach and train you what to look for first, feet, then ball. And if you don't, you got to look at feet first, then ball.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah.
Feet first, then ball.
It's an officiating thing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they teach and train you, and you have to train yourself, and you have to train yourself by watching tons of film. You wouldn't even believe the amount of film that I watched during a season.
I bet it's a lot.
Teacher by day, film from 4 o'clock from the time I get home till probably midnight till I fall asleep.
So you don't have any time for any shows or anything like that. You're watching film.
I don't watch. I don't even subscribe to cable or anything because of that.
You just watch film.
Yep.
Man, you guys are dedicated. And kudos to you guys. Cheers to you guys, because I've always wondered, how the hell are you seeing that shit? Especially stuff that we have to play on TV like 5 times in a row in slow motion. And I'm thinking to myself, some dude out there is making that call live as it happens in a split second, and that is super impressive.
What I would say is, number one, each level that you go to gets slower and slower and slower. You start seeing it in slow motion. You know, when I did a junior high game, it seemed fast. And then I did a junior high game, and then of JV, the junior high game or the little kids game seemed slow.
Yeah.
And then you do a high school game, and it seems fast, and everything else seems slow. And then you do a college game, and high school is like slow motion.
So your brain just sort of adapts to it, and you just get better and improve.
Yes.
And yeah, that's amazing stuff, how the body adapts like that. Because your eyes have to be so quick as well, you know?
Yep.
Do you ever get distracted during a game? I mean, obviously, probably you're going to say no. You got to be watching what you're looking for every time. But if it's a good game and you're like, oh, man, if it's down to the wire.
You don't really get an opportunity. Most time when the game is over, I don't know the score.
Yeah. Or if somebody's making a crazy play or something happens crazy and people are like, hey, Rich, you were there. You were reffing the game, you know. But you're not paying attention to other stuff at all.
I have keys, initial keys that I lock into, and those are my responsibility, and I focus on that. And then as the play progresses, I break down coverage to other areas, and that's just how officials work the game.
Yeah, talk about your position specifically. What makes it different than the other ones?
Well, because we're in harm's way a lot. We're back behind the linebackers, so
I've seen you get hit by a ball.
I have been hit by a ball one time.
But you're not looking for that stuff, so it's bound to happen.
And on that particular play, I was looking at the line of scrimmage at my keys, and I felt pressure from my left, and I turned and I kind of glanced over, and the receiver and the linebacker were running a pattern close to me, and I was kind of trying to slide and move and brace myself because I thought they were going to run into me, and about that time, boom, the ball hit me.
Right in the head?
Everything went black.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, was that hard?
Yeah, it hit
I didn't
me
know
hard.
that.
Yeah.
I think we saw the clip. I don't know if somebody played it for us or if we saw it live, but me and a bunch of buddies saw the clip. We're like, that was Richeson.
Yep. That was me.
That knocked you out?
I mean, everything went black for a second or two, and it was like I heard guys in the O2O saying, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And I was kind of shaking my head, and then I looked around. I didn't go to the ground.
You didn't go to the ground.
I stayed on my feet. And then it was just a quick boom. It was just a hard hit.
And then when that happens, your eyes aren't on what you're supposed to be looking at, obviously, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't ever have the quarterback for responsibility unless he breaks free and he's running next to me. So I didn't know the quarterback was throwing the ball.
I hope you never get hit again, but it was kind of funny for us to see.
One time.
You've never been decked or anything, though? Somebody running into you?
Yeah, I've been hit.
Have you?
Usually it's always from behind, but you don't know it's coming. I usually avoid the things that come in front of you. First time was Division II game, and I got hit from behind, went to the ground, and then second and third time were clearly in Division I. And one time I had to get my knee drained because the first thing that hit was my knee. I had no idea it was coming.
Oh, no.
Got hit from behind. The first thing that hit the ground was my knee, and I had a big swelled up knee.
They had to stick a needle in there and pull the fluid out?
Yep.
Damn.
Yep. But
so you get hit several times. You expect it sometimes
I
to
get
happen.
bumped and rubbed a lot, but I don't get hit to the ground very often.
You hear a lot of shit talking out there?
Yeah. Yeah. You could say that.
That was a little bit hesitant.
I mean, yeah. You hear it.
Yeah. Any funny stuff? Can you think of any times in particular when you heard something hilarious out there?
Not really. I mean,
any fights?
I've only had, I've been involved in, I don't think I've ever kicked anybody out for fighting. There's been a few. I mean, obviously in college football, if you punch, it's
you're
automatic.
Have you heard guys talking shit to each other, though, and like they're going to get into it if they don't stop this?
I mean, typically what you end up with is, two guys that don't want to back down, and all it needs is an official to get in there because then they're not backing down.
What if they're throwing punches at the official, though?
I've not seen that.
You've never seen that?
No.
It's pretty bad if it's to that point.
I would hope I don't see that, because all the games I've had, I mean, I will say the Big 12, the players are very respectful, and
Are they?
yeah, and the coaches do a great job with their players, and we just don't have a lot of issues like that.
What about coaches yelling at you or getting mad at you?
I don't really.
I mean, we see on TV, maybe it's not even you specifically in your position, but you see on TV calls that are made, flags that are thrown, and the coach is out there with his headphones off and he's yelling. Do you get any of that? Have you experienced that much?
Not much.
Really?
I mean, I know it's a point of emphasis, and that's the part of TV. TV is doing their thing to make it entertainable to people that are sitting at home.
Yeah.
So there's one camera that's focused on that coach the entire game.
And they cut it whenever he's freaking out.
Reaction.
Yep.
And he might be upset at a player. We don't know who he's upset about.
And see,
it could be a player, it could be official, it could be anything.
Those sneaky bastards, they do that with everything these days, don't they?
Well,
it's all about reactions and views and sucking the audience in. It's never just about the game anymore. It's like, oh, Coach Reed is heated out there.
Right.
But you don't experience that very often where coaches are yelling at you guys for calls you made?
No, I don't.
Who has the final say on a call? I guess, first of all, do you ever see a dispute between the officials when you guys are talking to each other and you're like, okay.
What you should always get is you should get communication amongst the crew to make sure you get it right. Number one, that's the most important thing. Let's get this right.
Have you ever seen times, though, where you guys disagree on a really, really close call? Like, it's hard to even tell what happened, and you guys are all out there, like, talking about it, and some of you think it's the right call, some of you think it was the wrong call?
Well, you have guys that are looking at areas, so you don't get more than one or two that are looking at the same area, typically. Maybe three. But
so it's really like compartmentalized.
It's someone's primary, and they make a decision on it. And obviously, if it's a judgment type thing, it can go to replay. So, you don't see a big difference of opinion a lot, I guess, in terms of.
There's never like two officials going, no, it's this way, no, it's this way.
No, you don't get that. You have guys that you work with. Typically, you're on a crew. You work with guys week to week, and you build that relationship where if I come to you and I bring information that I think something happened and you disagree, then I trust your judgment. Whereas if I bring something to you and you tell me you saw it differently, I trust your judgment. And it's usually worked out quickly.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's a cool thing.
Well, I mean, that's how it should be.
Yeah.
You can't let your ego get in the way of making sure that the play is right.
And if you're at that level where you're an elite official, that's how it should be. You should trust your coworker or whatever you would call them in their area of the field, right?
Mm-hmm.
What about the guys upstairs, though? You guys have guys upstairs that you answer to?
Yep.
Can they overturn calls that you make?
Well, I mean, again, to get into the calls, there's only certain things that are reviewable as far as calls, but not necessarily flags thrown. Not necessarily that. Typically, the things like judgment, anything to deal with a line to gain, sideline, goal line, end line, out of bounds. Those they can get in they can get involved with those, but for the most part, they're like a superior backup, like that they're there to make sure that if you have a good game and you're doing things correctly, they don't even have to get involved. They only get involved when, I mean, there's plays that are super tight. Even in slow motion, it's hard to decide who's right,
That's what I'm saying, is calls like that.
Right.
When you can't even tell when you do a replay with four different angles.
Right.
That's kind of where it gets dicey.
As officials, we always want confirmed. Sometimes you get stands, and that I understand because replay has to have indisputable video evidence.
To overturn it?
Correct.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, for the most part, we're one team.
You guys trust each other. You're all a team together.
Absolutely. We're all one team.
Yeah. Okay, that's kind of what I was looking for, because I didn't really understand the dynamic between all of you guys out there.
Right.
If you were just, when you're all conspiring and we see on TV that 4 of you are standing around, you're looking at this little tiny screen, you're like,
Well, what that does is all that TV screen is for is to give the referee a look at the play, because he doesn't see it. He's got his keys. He doesn't know if anyone catches it, or if it's intercepted, or if it's incomplete, or if it's out of bounds, inbounds. Everyone else has to give him that information.
Mm-hmm.
He's staying focused in his area. And then at the end of the day, after a replay, he's got to make an announcement. And that screen helps him get a visual of about what he's going to announce and how he's going to announce it.
Okay.
So that's really what the screen is for.
Okay.
It helps
So you're not sitting there watching the replay going,
Replay is making all the decisions. And he might say, hey, did you get a look at this? Take a look at this. Ultimately, replay is making the decision. And then replay is also connected back to the ROC, which is a replay operations center.
Okay.
All Power 5s have that.
I always figured you guys were just chilling down there watching the replays like we are going,
no.
yeah, I think maybe.
He's looking at it, and he's making a decision if he agrees with everything they say, or if he thinks, hey, take a look at this. We're trying to communicate to make sure that we don't leave something unturned. You know, hey, at the end of the day, this team is the one that recovered the ball.
Yeah.
If they're looking at a fumble, no fumble, this team recovered the ball. Same team who fumbled it recovered the ball. Do they need to look at that anymore? That kind of thing.
Okay.
So we're trying to help them. They're trying to help us. And we're trying to paint the picture to them of what we saw on the field, and then he's trying to look at it so when he has to make the announcement, he can have a clear, concise announcement so TV understands it.
Do they teach you guys how to talk like that when you make an announcement? You all talk the same way where it's really...
Oh, they practice it, yes.
They practice
have
it,
to.
Yeah. It's not a bad thing. I'm just
Short,
asking.
Sweet. I get it. Short,
do they
sweet,
train
to
you
the
on how to
point.
do all that stuff? On what to say exactly?
On announcements, yes. I mean, not trained. They practice those kinds of things.
So when you're making an
They don't
announcement,
say you
you'll
have to
just
say it this way. Every referee is an individual. They're going to say things differently.
Okay.
And they're going to announce things differently. They're going to have a different way of announcing it. They're going to have a different way of saying it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's their own personality. But at the end of the day, the information that's needed for TV and everyone else is what has to be portrayed.
Okay. No, that makes sense. One thing, though, that I'm curious about that I want you to answer is I hear all the time in the sports world that holding is a call you could make every single play, right? I hear that all the time. They call holding, they throw a flag, holding, and people will say, you know, these aren't just my friends, people at the bar, people I'm out with, they'll say, well, you can call holding on any call if you want to. What do you have to say to those people?
They want holding when their team's on offense or defense, and they don't want holding when their team's on offense.
That's a true statement. But could you really call holding on every single play almost? No?
No.
All right.
No. No, you could not call holding on every play. Not every play has holding. So in football, for a legitimate call, it has to be a legitimate hold. And there's 4 categories that we have that we put them into, and it has to be at the point of attack, and it has to have an impact on the play. That's when you're going to have holding.
Okay. So it's legitimate every time. You're not just throwing a flag because Texas is losing.
No.
I'm messing with you.
Nobody cares about no official even.
You don't care about the game.
No, we don't care about the game.
Tell me about going on in the future. What are your goals for this? Like, I know probably the end goal is the NFL, right?
Yes.
Is that the end goal for you?
Sure.
What's it like transferring from NCAA to the NFL? Are you scouted out? Does somebody have to approach you?
You are scouted, yes.
So it's kind of the same thing as back in the day when you were doing high school? Somebody's going to come and approach you?
At a different level, yes, because they have a multitude of things that you do that they bring you into and go through.
And when you're in the NFL, you're probably making decent money at that point, right, as an official?
Yes.
I mean, you probably are as an NCAA. You don't have to say anything about that, but
right.
Can you make a living just being a college football official?
I mean, it's a living. It's not
It's
a great
nothing
living.
flashy.
I mean, it's great money.
Yeah.
It's a great second job. It's not a primary job.
Does it get flashy money though when you get to the NFL?
I mean, it's really good money, but not your first few years. No, I mean, if you can have a career of it, yeah, then it can be very good money.
So you being an NFL ref, that's a full-time career?
No, most of them are not full time
They're
in
not?
the NFL. No, they still have other jobs.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
So that's your end goal though, is to be an NFL ref?
Yes.
Do you have anything to say about that?
Well, I mean, what do you want me to say? I just said yes. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm
Is
in
the
their
pressure bigger?
I'm in their training program. Yes, it will be, for sure. I mean, those kind of things.
Do you view those guys as like the top tier dudes?
They are.
They are?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't make it to that level because they're not.
Right. So NFL, obviously, that's top tier in football.
Yes.
And you guys view it the same way as any other job in the civilian world where you're like, that dude is the president.
I mean, there's only
vice president.
115 or 120 of them.
There's only 120 of them in the
Yeah.
NFL? How many are in college?
Oh, I
Do you
don't
know?
even know because you'd have to take every power conference, plus every. I mean, there's a lot more than that. So that they're the elite. They're the ones who have performed and made it to the elite level.
Is there a company that manages all this?
No.
Like, how does that work? Who are you paid by when you're an NFL ref or even a college ref?
You're paid by the NFL if you're an NFL ref, or if you're paid by your conference if you're a conference.
Okay, so it's by conference in
Correct.
college.
In college, it's conference. In the NFL, it's NFL.
So it's a totally different world then, even though you're doing the same job almost, right?
Yes.
You're in a totally new world if you're going to NFL.
Right. Correct. Different rules.
Yeah.
There's a lot that's
Different expectations.
Correct.
I wanted to touch on real quick before we wrap up that, like, when you travel for games, you work in the Big 12 conference.
Yep.
And other refs work in other conferences, but you're almost exclusively in that conference, right?
Yes.
You only go out of it for bowl games and stuff?
Well, no. So early in the season, in the first 4 weeks, is where, in the non-conference stuff, that's where you would travel more than what you normally would.
Okay.
So it depends on the contract with the schools. So if the Big 12 is playing, say, the Big 10, they have a contract set up with where the officials are going to be. So if it's a home and away. So in other words, the Big 12 officials will travel to Ohio State. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And then the next year, when they play back, when they play in a Big 12 school, Big 10 officials travel to the Big 12 school. And that's kind of how it works. They kind of usually set up a home and home.
And all that travel and everything's paid for as a
No,
as
get
an
a
official?
flat rate.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
So you're booking your own flights and everything as
Yep.
well?
Mm-hmm.
You're booking your own flights where you're staying and all that?
Yep.
And it's over a
Well,
weekend?
they usually have hotels at somewhat of a discounted rate, and they have those blank, because if you didn't, like let's say you got, say Oklahoma at Ohio State, you wouldn't be able to get a hotel in a town.
Mm-hmm.
Because all the Oklahoma fans would have that booked and ate up originally because we don't get the schedule until late, sometimes August.
No, yeah, that
July,
makes sense because
August.
when I try to go to K-State games,
Right.
I can't find a hotel.
Right.
I'm
they
old enough.
So they always have hotels blocked off for officials.
Okay.
And then once you get the assignment, then they give you the contact, and then you take care of that. But that's done. So you get a flat rate. You get what you get, and then you travel there how you want. So the perks of that are the airline miles and the airline perks.
Oh, yeah.
And the hotel perks.
Oh, yeah. I know you fly a lot.
I'm Platinum Pro now, finally.
Platinum Pro, baby. Yeah. Cheers, sir.
Cheers to that.
Yeah. What's your day like when you get there? When you're down, like let's say you're going to Norman to do an OU game. It's a big game in the Big 12. What's your day like on Saturday?
Well, it starts on Friday. We have to be
It
there
does?
Friday.
Really?
Friday we have pregame dinner. Pregame it can go anywhere from 2 hours to 3 hours, and we just go through all the details of everything from that game and our next game coming up. We look at film from the previous week. We look at film from both teams, and then we look at scouting reports, and we look at all the details of everything. And we make sure that we're all on the same page, and then we go to dinner, get a good night's sleep, and then we get to the stadium 3 to 3.5 hours early, and then, we go through a typical walk the field.
Which I'm jealous of, because I see your Snapchat sometimes when
Right.
you're in the middle of a stadium and there's a huge
Right.
game,
Yeah.
and I'm like, oh man, that's fucking badass.
So once we get to the field, walk the field, come back in, and it's self-preparation. Individually, what do you need to do? And I've got like a flip chart of 6 or 7 pages that I go through, and just things,
Just stuff you've made
to
your own?
focus on. Yeah, and my list evolves, but it started from a guy who helped me from the beginning, Tom Quick, who's an umpire in the Big 12. He's in the SEC now, and he started off with kind of all the aspects of the game, from the kickoff to the running game to the passing game to the punts to everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then if I had something that I wasn't doing well, I would add it to that list, and I'd say, make sure you look at this, this, and this. So
you just run through that, and that's your own little
yep, I run through that, and then that's my deal that I do the day of, and then I got to change, and then I meet the coaches with the referee, and then we come back and we got to be on the field 90 minutes now. Used to be 60, but now it's 90 minutes, and then we go from there. And then by the time both teams leave, there's typically somewhere between 30 minutes and 25 minutes left. Then we go back in the locker room, enough time to use the bathroom and make sure everything's ready. We pray, and then we go back out and work the game.
You meet a lot of cool people, I'm assuming, then,
Yep.
being in a position like yours.
I have.
A lot of people that are really famous, really popular, you meet them all.
I have met quite a few people that are very popular.
That's a big perk
Very
of the
cool.
job, right?
It is a very big perk.
Yeah.
They don't know you, but it's kind of cool to meet them and talk to them for a little bit, and just kind of, they acknowledge you and they understand the job you have and how hard the job is.
Yeah. Well, do you have anything else to say about it? Anything for people out there that want to be a ref or get into officiating?
Get started as soon as you can.
If you want to be an official?
Yep. I waited too long. I mean, I was coaching. I wished I would have started earlier.
You wish you could have done this way earlier?
I wish I would have started earlier, just because in terms of the time, one thing I always told me is take snaps. Snap, snap, snaps. The more you officiate, the more things that you run into, that you're going to run into, that the next time it happens, you're like, seen this before. I know how this goes.
I know what this is about.
I know what this is about.
Yeah.
So I never liked when people told me that, but I understand now what they're saying. It just takes the more experience you have, the better you are. And, if you want to get to an elite level, you're going to have to get as much experience as you can. And it starts at the lower level. And officials are in high demand.
Are they really?
They are.
Why is that?
If you look at the news media and the articles, and I don't pay attention much to the news media at all, but people, they're getting out. Number one, we got a lot of people that have been in it, doing it 30 plus years.
Yeah.
They're getting out of it because they're older. But there's not a lot of young people that are getting in it because they can't handle the scrutiny and the, and
they can't handle all of the flack that they get on.
But part of that is the parent problem, part of that is a coach's problem, and part of that is a community problem.
But there's an easy way around it too, like you described earlier. You don't just have to have tough skin, you just have to not pay attention to it. You don't need to get on Twitter and read what everybody says about your call.
But it's at the game sites, and I'm
At the
referring
game sites,
mostly to basketball,
Yeah.
not so much football, because in football they're back far enough away.
Mhm.
You hear a roar, but you don't really hear specifically what they're saying. You do from the coaches, but you don't from the fans.
Yeah.
In basketball, they're right on top of you, and you're hearing every single thing they say. So
And so it can get in your head if you don't have tough skin.
well, true, and not everybody's that way,
unfortunately.
unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, you're also in a
world we live
unique
in.
spot, though, too, because most people don't think about that. I mean, before you even started reffing for high school, you didn't know about this career opportunity,
No,
a chance to do this. It wasn't a thing you think about.
That's why when they when they told me that I had an opportunity to do some things like that, I didn't even realize it. It wasn't until one of the biggest assignments I got that I even realized
it clicked, and you're like, "Holy shit, this could be a real thing that I do."
Yeah,
and you excelled at it. Obviously, you're sitting right here. You're going to be an NFL ref hopefully soon.
I mean,
I'm rooting for you.
I hope I get an opportunity.
Yeah. And you have some crazy ass rings too. I saw that one that you're wearing right now.
It's a Sugar Bowl.
Sugar Bowl ring.
Yes.
And that's fucking crazy because you guys get those if you're a part of it.
Yes.
As an official.
Yes. We do.
That's a huge perk, wouldn't you say?
Yes. Yeah, it's a huge. Yeah.
There's a lot of pros to this job.
Yes. There's a lot of downsides to it.
You got to be dedicated though. You got to know what you're doing.
You have to be dedicated, and you have to be willing to travel, and you have to be away from your family. You got to have supporting
But you enjoy
cast.
it.
I do enjoy it.
I've never once heard you talk about you don't like this or you're sick of it.
I love to travel, and I love to do what I do.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is, you get to meet people, and I'm not talking about celebrities. I'm talking about the people you work with, and you become family.
Mm-hmm.
That's the best part of it.
You got a whole little network of your own in this official ref world.
I was on a crew for multiple years, and we excelled and we were excellent. And now I'm on a new crew, and we had an outstanding year, and we excelled, and we're trying to get better every week. And so those guys that were on my first crew and second crew are it changed over the years, different people. Those are some of my best friends.
Really?
Those are people that I hang out with constantly, and I still call daily, and I communicate with them all the time. And now I got a new crew.
That's super cool. That's a lot like a lot of other jobs out there, like a firefighter or a military member.
It is very
You build these
same.
crews, you move on, you go somewhere else.
And total respect to the military. So I will say that, but I don't want to compare it to that. But
it's similar in that aspect, right? You're building these crews, and then you're splitting up after.
Because that's how you feel like when you walk out to a game. It's you guys against everyone else in terms of we're here to do the best job we can. No matter who's here, they're going to think we're not doing it correctly.
That's a crazy.
They can't see it through neutralized. They see it through their team's eyes.
Their team's eyes, yeah. If you're going against my team or making a call against my team, then you're a piece of shit for making that call. That's how people feel, right?
I mean, yeah. Sometimes it's worse than that, but yeah.
That's being light on it.
That's being light on it. I suppose that's accurate.
Well, kudos to you guys, Rich. I respect you a lot more now. Not that I didn't before.
Right.
But the stuff that you guys go through and the mindset you have going in and that team mindset too, that's badass. And don't let this shit bother you. Don't let them get in your head.
It doesn't.
And to everybody out there that wants to be an official someday, don't let them get in your head, right?
Nope.
Have tough skin and just make the right call and be confident in your decision.
And there's always somebody out there that'll help you. Or find you a mentor.
Find you a mentor.
Everybody will help you.
Find you a Mr. Miyagi. Somebody that's been in it for a while.
Right.
Maybe it's you.
There's guys all over.
Maybe you'll mentor somebody someday.
I've mentored a bunch.
Have you?
Yeah, there's guys that are actually the guy that got me started is working the game right now.
Is he?
On ESPN.
Shout out to him.
James Madison, Greg Helser. Another guy that Scott Harden is another guy that I've helped along the way. He's working a bowl game here another week or two. I mean, there's just multiple.
Yeah,
Josh Larson.
You got a big bowl game coming up too.
I do. Josh Larson is another guy that I've helped. He worked a championship game. So,
fucking A, man.
It's we've done well here in this area.
You've done great.
There's a lot of guys that are still in this area that are doing well. So there's people in the area. If you're interested in it and you want to get in it, get a hold of Jesse. He has my contact. I will help you.
Any last words?
That's it.
All right, Mr. Richeson. I
Cheers.
enjoyed this conversation a lot.
I appreciate it.
Genuinely. I mean,
we've been working on this for a long time.
I know, dude. And there's a lot that goes into this job that I never knew about. And you're also a teacher. Don't let people forget that.
I know. That's my primary job.
That's your primary job. And you're just living life. You want to see people do good. You want to do good for yourself.
Yep.
You're bettering yourself.
Yep.
I love it.
That's for sure.
Thanks for everything you taught me. I probably wouldn't be in this spot right here without you.
It's kind of crazy.
I'm not joking.
That probably blew me away the most when I came in here.
I'm not kidding, man.
You were talking about that, and I walked in, and you're like, "We've came a long way," and I'm like, "Oh my god!"
Well, when I edit these podcasts, I learned how to edit videos in your class.
I
Seeing it on a timeline.
Yep.
So thank you. Thanks, man. Thanks for everything. Thanks for everything you do for the community. Thanks for everything you do in football.
Impressive what you've done.
I mean, yeah, you've made a huge difference in a lot of people's lives, and I hope you realize that. So cheers to you. And cheers to a lot more. Right? All right. That's a wrap.